Craig Mack burst onto the scene in the 90s, turning heads with his hit Flava in Ya Ear and making waves in hip-hop. But beneath the fame and catchy beats lay a darker story. In 2018, news broke that Craig had died from what was reported as heart failure. But now, Diddy's own bodyguard claims there's more to this tale, hinting at hidden truths. Was Diddy somehow involved? And why did Diddy seem to harbor such deep hatred for the artist he once signed? Keep watching as we expose the dark rumors, hidden secrets, and the puzzling role Diddy might have played. But to understand the full context of what may have caused a rift between the two, we need to explore how Craig's career intersected with Diddy's ambitious vision for his record label. Diddy and Craig Mack's professional relationship. Craig's professional journey didn't begin with Diddy. Long before he was one of the faces of Bad Boy Records, he was making a name for himself in New York's underground hip-hop scene. His association with Eric Sermon, one half of the iconic duo EPMD, was a significant stepping stone in Craig's early career. The two were neighbors in Long Island, and their relationship dates back to 1985 when they were just teenagers. Sermon saw the potential in Craig's raw talent, and over the years, they would cross paths in various capacities. In the late 80s, Craig performed under the name MC Easy with his partner Troop, and they were even featured on an early EPMD tour. At this point, Craig was positioning himself to become a part of Sermon and Parrish Smith's expanding Hit Squad roster, which was a collective of promising hip-hop talent. Craig's plan was to sign with Sleeping Bag Records, the label EPMD was affiliated with, and push his single Get Retarded. However, fate had other plans. EPMD's personal problems led to their breakup, and this dissolution put Craig's future with the Hit Squad in jeopardy. Sermon later reflected that he never had the chance to properly work with Craig due to the breakup, which left Craig at a crossroads. With his plans to join the Hit Squad falling through, Craig found himself back at square one. Around the same time, Diddy was beginning to build what would become Bad Boy Records. After leaving his executive post at Uptown Records, he took with him one of hip-hop's most promising new talents, the notorious B.I.G. However, Diddy wasn't satisfied with just one star. He was on the lookout for more talent that could help launch his label into the stratosphere. Craig was one of the artists who caught his attention. According to reports, Diddy was impressed by Craig after a chance encounter outside New York City's Club Mecca. Some accounts suggest that it was through the efforts of Alvin Toney, a promoter affiliated with EPMD, that Craig was introduced to Diddy. In any case, the meeting was a turning point for Craig, who quickly found himself in Diddy's orbit. Craig was brought into the fold of what would soon become one of the most influential hip-hop labels of the 90s. His first big move with Diddy came when he appeared alongside Diddy in the remix video for Mary J. Blige's You Don't Have to Worry. The video, which featured Craig in Diddy's Lexus, was an early sign of the rising rapper's integration into the Bad Boy brand. It wasn't long before Craig was set to release his own single under the label, becoming the first rapper to do so. Craig's debut single, Flava in Ya Ear, became an instant hit. Released in the summer of 1994, it spent 14 weeks at #1 on the rap charts, helping to ignite a movement in New York City's hip-hop scene and establishing Bad Boy Records as a serious player in the industry. The track's success was bolstered by a remix featuring some of the biggest names in hip-hop, including Biggie, LL Cool J, and Busta Rhymes, cementing Craig's place in the genre's history. At the time, Craig seemed like a perfect fit for the bad boy image. His blend of charisma, mic skills, and street style aligned with Diddy's vision for the label. Bad Boy packaged its artists with a sense of swagger and confidence, and Craig embodied that in his own way. Though he wasn't considered a heartthrob like some of his contemporaries, He had a unique style that resonated with audiences. In many ways, Craig represented the underdog spirit that Diddy wanted to promote through his label. But despite his initial success, Craig's time at Bad Boy was short-lived. While his single went platinum and his debut album, Project Funk Da World, achieved gold status, Craig never quite reached the level of superstardom that Diddy seemed to reserve for his other protege, Biggie. As Bad Boy's focus shifted more towards Biggie's rise to the top, Craig's presence in the spotlight began to fade. There's been much speculation over the years about what exactly led to the apparent fallout between Diddy and Craig. Some suggest that Craig's more low-key persona and lack of interest in the glitzy, fast-paced lifestyle of Bad Boy's other stars may have created tension. Others believe that the overwhelming success of Biggie overshadowed Craig's achievements, leading to feelings of neglect or frustration on Craig's part. What's clear, however, is that Craig's departure from Bad Boy marked a turning point in his career. While Diddy continued to build his empire with artists like Biggie, Faith Evans, and Mace, Craig's career would take a different path. After leaving Bad Boy, Craig's output slowed down significantly, and he eventually stepped away from the music industry altogether. Despite the brevity of his career with Bad Boy, Craig's impact on the label, and on hip-hop as a whole, cannot be overstated. Flava in Ya Ear remains one of the defining tracks of the 90s, and Craig's contribution to the early success of Bad Boy helped lay the foundation for what would become a music empire. As the years have gone by, fans and industry insiders alike have continued to wonder about the nature of Craig and Diddy's relationship. Was there more to their split than just creative differences or the natural ebb and flow of the music industry? Did personal issues or professional disagreements play a role in their parting ways? In light of recent revelations from those who were close to the situation, it seems that there may have been deeper issues at play. Tensions between Diddy and Craig Mack. The tension between Diddy and Craig began to build as Craig's loyalty to Bad Boy wavered, and Suge Knight stepped into the picture. Reports suggest that Suge saw Craig's potential and offered him a lucrative opportunity to join Death Row Records, with a generous recording budget and a substantial advance. The thought of jumping to Death Row likely felt like an exciting new path for Craig. However, Diddy wasn't too happy with the idea. Diddy had invested in Craig early on, and his departure would have represented a significant loss for Bad Boy. Diddy, already navigating the intricacies of the industry, saw Craig's move to Death Row as more than just a business decision. It felt like a betrayal. Craig, on the other hand, was likely frustrated with the trajectory of his career at Bad Boy. After all, his sophomore album, Operation Get Down, was left in limbo until 1997, despite the success of Flava in Ya Ear and the buzz around his name. For someone with his ambition, the delays and unfulfilled promises at Bad Boy were undoubtedly stifling. Craig wanted more, and Suge's offer may have seemed like his ticket to the spotlight he deserved. According to Craig's wife, Roxanne Alexis Hill Johnson, Diddy's reaction to the potential move was anything but supportive. She shared that Diddy's response was one of anger, claiming he felt threatened by Craig's interest in Death Row. Diddy's response was reportedly vindictive, as he sought to make things difficult for Craig as a consequence of considering a move to a rival label. Hill Johnson described Diddy's actions as rooted in personal offense rather than business acumen, hinting at an intense sense of betrayal. A spokesperson for Bad Boy, however, painted a different picture, suggesting that the split was merely a result of creative differences. According to their official stance, Diddy was always supportive of Craig and wished him the best in his future endeavors. They claimed that Craig had always been free to pursue other opportunities, implying that Diddy didn't try to sabotage his career. This version of events aimed to maintain Bad Boy's reputation, asserting that any tension between Craig and Diddy was purely professional, not personal. Despite the public statements, it was clear that things were rocky behind the scenes. After Biggie's stardom overshadowed Craig's own career began to decline. He struggled to find his footing in a rapidly changing music industry, and without the full support of Bad Boy, he found himself at a crossroads. When he finally released Operation Get Down in 1997, it was met with mixed reviews and failed to capture the same magic as his earlier work. The album did not produce any hits, and Craig's presence in the public eye started to wane. Craig's story took another turn as he began seeking a different path, one that would take him far from the music industry's glitz and glamour. He eventually joined Overcomer Ministry, a religious group led by Ralph Gordon Stair. The rapper had a sense of reverence for Stair and became a devoted follower. Craig's friends and family saw this as a drastic change, but perhaps he felt he had found a purpose beyond music. His affiliation with Stair's ministry led to speculation that he was looking for an escape from the challenges he faced in the music world, particularly his challenging relationship with Diddy. Craig's friend Alvin Toney believed that Craig's vulnerability made him susceptible to Stair's influence. In times of difficulty, people often look for answers, and Craig seemed to find solace in the teachings of Stair. This shift marked the beginning of a new chapter in Craig's life, one that would ultimately distance him from both the music industry and his past with Bad Boy. Reflecting on Craig's journey, Toney noted that Craig wasn't the same person he once knew. The industry had taken its toll on him, and the weight of his experiences showed in his demeanor. Toney suspected that Craig wasn't receiving adequate medical care, possibly due to the ministry's stance on traditional medicine. Despite this, Craig remained devoted to Stair, speaking highly of him and even viewing him as a messianic figure. In his final years, Craig's relationship with Diddy became a distant memory, overshadowed by his commitment to Stair's ministry. For Diddy, the once promising rapper who had helped launch Bad Boy was now a figure from the past. But for Craig, Diddy was a pivotal figure in his life, one who had influenced both his successes and his struggles. In the end, Craig's path led him away from the music industry, leaving behind a legacy marked by a unique sound, unfulfilled potential, and the lingering tension with Diddy. Mack's death. Craig's death on March 13, 2018, marked a profound moment in hip-hop, stirring deep emotions across the community. He passed away in a South Carolina hospital, reportedly from heart failure, leaving behind a complex legacy and countless fans who admired his contributions to the music world. For many, the news came as a shock, sparking an outpouring of heartfelt messages from friends, fans, and fellow artists who mourned the loss of the man behind Flavor in Ya Ear. Diddy was one of the first to pay tribute, sharing a touching message about the role Craig played in launching Bad Boy Records. Mack, you were the first artist to release music on Bad Boy and gave us our first hit, he wrote on social media. Diddy spoke of the mutual belief they had in each other and in the Bad Boy label during its early days. He expressed admiration for Craig's infectious energy and creative spirit, acknowledging the inspiration Craig provided not only to him, but to the hip-hop community at large. This public recognition painted a picture of gratitude, perhaps an effort to honor the impact Craig made while also celebrating his undeniable talent. Producer Eric Sermon, another close collaborator, shared that he and Craig had been working on a new project before his passing. He took to social media to express his grief, reflecting on the unexpected loss and the work they had hoped to release together. The news that Craig was involved in creating new music added a poignant note to his passing, as fans were left to wonder what he might have produced had he been given more time. This added yet another layer to the narrative surrounding Craig's legacy, hinting at the music he could have shared with the world had circumstances been different. However, details about Craig's health surfaced in the months following his death, shedding light on the personal struggles he faced in his final years. In an interview, his ex-wife, Roxanne Alexis Hill Johnson, confirmed that Craig had been battling HIV/AIDS. According to Roxanne, Craig was unwilling to pursue medical treatment for his illness, choosing instead to place his faith in divine intervention. She explained that he believed seeking conventional medical help would contradict his spiritual beliefs, a decision that ultimately led to his untimely passing. This revelation offered a glimpse into Craig's complex worldview, influenced by his religious beliefs and the community he had joined in South Carolina. It became clear that Craig's life had taken a drastic turn after he left the music industry, and his time with the Overcomer Ministry in South Carolina was a critical part of his story. His association with this religious group sparked controversy, with some questioning the organization's influence on his beliefs. Despite these questions, Craig's commitment to the ministry remained steadfast until the end. His decision to forego a traditional funeral in favor of a burial on the ministry's grounds reflected this dedication. Friends and family members, though saddened by his passing, respected his wishes to be laid to rest, according to his spiritual convictions. The circumstances surrounding Craig's memorial service brought about mixed emotions within the hip-hop community, as many industry friends and collaborators were unaware of the plans. DJ Scratch, a longtime friend, expressed disappointment that so few from the music world attended. He later clarified that Diddy, among others, had not been informed of the arrangements and had even offered to cover the costs of a funeral. However, ministry leaders reportedly declined Diddy's assistance, preferring to keep the proceedings intimate. This decision underscored the divide between Craig's past life as a hip-hop artist and the religious path he had chosen later in life, a transition that had led him away from the spotlight and those who once shared in his success. Following the private ceremony organized by the ministry, Craig's childhood friend, Alvin Toney, took it upon himself to arrange a second memorial to celebrate his life and legacy. This gathering allowed fans and fellow artists to pay their respects and reflect on Craig's impact, both as an individual and as a musician. It was a chance for those who had been part of his journey to come together, share stories, and remember the man behind the music. Bodyguard's perspective. From the perspective of Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, the tension between Diddy and Craig was palpable. In his recounting, the bodyguard painted a picture of a fraught dynamic that evolved over time and was influenced by the ever-present specter of Diddy's favoritism for Biggie Smalls, known as Big. According to Gene, Craig often came up to the studio by himself, unlike other artists who typically moved with a team. This meant that when confrontations with Diddy arose, Craig was often on his own, vulnerable in an environment where alliances and group support were crucial. Gene's observations hint at a deeper divide between Craig and Diddy, beyond just business dealings. Diddy, always keen on showboating, seemed to use Craig as a means to boost his own ego, knowing full well that Craig wasn't in a position to push back effectively. The bodyguard's description of Diddy's behavior suggested a sense of dismissal toward Craig, an artist he no longer saw value in. This strained relationship became even more evident in how Diddy handled money matters with Craig. One of the most glaring examples of this tension, according to Gene, occurred during a particular incident where Craig needed financial support. At an event, Craig reportedly approached Diddy for some money. Diddy, with a dismissive smirk, pulled out a wad of cash and gave Craig a mere $100. It wasn't just the amount that was insulting, but the manner in which Diddy did it, publicly and with a sense of condescension. For Craig, this likely stung deeply, as it revealed just how little regard Diddy had for him at this point in their relationship. Gene went on to describe how Craig, despite his contributions to Bad Boy Records, was being sidelined. Diddy wasn't utilizing Craig's talents, even when Craig needed opportunities to work and make money. Instead, Diddy seemed to distance himself from Craig, favoring Biggie over him. Biggie's dislike for Craig played a key role in Diddy's decision to stop working with Craig. Diddy, it seemed, chose to align himself with Biggie, a rising star at the time, over Craig, whose career was seen as less promising. This favoritism wasn't just about business, it was personal. Gene implied that Diddy's attitude toward Craig became dismissive because Biggie didn't like him. Whether it was Biggie's influence or Diddy's own changing views, Craig was pushed to the margins of the Bad Boy family. The mention of Craig's financial struggles further complicated the picture. Gene talked about how Craig had to file for bankruptcy at one point, likely because he couldn't find a way out of his contractual obligations with Bad Boy. Filing for bankruptcy was a legal move that Craig felt was necessary, possibly to sever ties with Diddy's label. This move may have been an attempt to gain some financial freedom and independence, but it also illustrated the desperate situation Craig found himself in. According to Gene, the tragic death of Tupac Shakur threw everything into chaos, including the plans for Death Row East. Craig's potential fresh start was derailed by forces beyond his control, and with it, a promising new chapter in his career was lost. The missed opportunity to sign with Death Row East was a blow for Craig, one that perhaps deepened his disillusionment with the industry and with Diddy specifically. Throughout all of this, Gene maintained that Diddy didn't want any problems with Eric B., the quiet but powerful figure behind the Death Row East project. Diddy's reluctance to confront Eric B. directly showed just how complex the power dynamics in the music industry were at the time. If Craig had successfully moved to Death Row East, it might have been a way for him to get back at Diddy for the years of disrespect and neglect. But with Tupac's death and the collapse of Death Row East, that path closed, leaving Craig with fewer options. Adding to the complexities of the relationship between Craig and Diddy was the issue of creative control. Gene revealed that Diddy had tried to change Craig's lyrics and even the way he dressed, which didn't sit well with Craig, an artist known for his independent spirit. Craig had his own vision for his music and his image, and he resisted Diddy's attempts to mold him into something he wasn't. This tension over artistic direction further contributed to the breakdown of their relationship. As Craig moved forward, he had to make do with what little support he could find. Despite this, Craig continued to explore his options and worked independently, releasing music that reflected his raw and authentic style. By the early 2000s, he found solace in his faith and became involved with a religious community. For Craig, this was a new chapter that allowed him to step away from the conflicts and negativity he had experienced. His faith was something that grounded him, offering a sense of peace that the music industry never could. He joined a ministry in South Carolina, where he focused on spiritual growth and sharing his beliefs with others. While some saw this as an unconventional path, it was clear that Craig had found something that resonated with him on a deep, personal level. Unfortunately, this didn't mean Craig was entirely free from the industry's reach. Even while engaged in ministry work, he was occasionally drawn back to music, collaborating on projects that aligned with his values. In 2017, he released the Mack World Sessions, a raw and unpolished project that hinted at the struggles and triumphs he experienced along the way. Craig's decision to step away from mainstream music wasn't just about disagreements or feeling left out. It was a deliberate choice to pursue a life that aligned more closely with his beliefs. His time with Bad Boy was behind him, and even though he had opportunities to return, Craig seemed to understand that he was no longer the same person who had once topped the charts. For him, it wasn't about chasing fame or accolades, but about finding a meaningful way to live that resonated with his newfound faith. Yet, The music industry's demands were relentless, and Craig's journey was far from easy. His daughter Amanda spoke about how they had moved to South Carolina, where they lived a secluded life within a tight-knit religious community. This was a choice Craig made in an attempt to shield his family and himself from the chaos that had defined so much of his career. He embraced his role as a spiritual leader, and while some questioned the legitimacy of the group he joined, for Craig, it was a place where he could finally breathe. As Craig found peace in his faith, the industry that had once sought him out continued to change. Diddy went on to build his empire, and Bad Boy became a legacy label, with Craig's contributions often overlooked.